the showbiz or the cool kids sitting in the corner like they're hiding away from the way they used to fall.
To this episode of the My Two Tips Knitting podcast, place, show, whatever this is. It has been a while since I last recorded. I don't even know when the last time was, but it's been long enough that I have moved twice since then, pretty sure. So we have moved to Ottawa, Ontario, Canada in the middle of the pandemic. Still trying to get settled and all that jazz. I don't know, brief synopsis. Where do we start? Do we start afresh? Sure, I guess. So I am uploading this episode to a new YouTube channel, I guess. I don't really talk to YouTube. Don't talk to YouTube ever. I don't really make reference to YouTube channels a whole lot. It's not something I've ever really done. But I have, or will be, uploading this one to a new one. And it's associated with a more designated email address. So the email address is my2tips@gmail.com, which is the name of this podcast, My Two Tips. I'm keeping it all the same in that regard, except episodes going forward will be here. I'm not entirely sure if I can move all the previous episodes to this channel. If I can, I'll do it at some point, but it's not something I'm overly concerned with. But welcome. If you're new, great. If you've found me through previous stuff, hello again. It's me, Elise. I feel like I need to hold something with my hands, and I think maybe a lot of us do. That's why we all hold beverages and stuff. I literally just filled this up with water because I finished my tea when I was trying to record before. Yeah. Anyway. You can find me on Instagram, which is probably the main way to really communicate things these days. So my handle on there is @e_Garnier. Not super creative, but that's me. I am still on Ravelry. I really just use it these days to kind of look at patterns and see my stash on there, because I find I put so much time and effort to move everything into there, and I haven't figured out a way to do it on my own. I know that the Fiber Club is coming, which will be exciting, but until then I'm just kind of trudging forth with what has been going on for the last however long. So I've been trying to think of what I want episodes to look like coming forth. I wouldn't mind hearing your opinions on that matter. Do you guys like when people tend to follow and share with the same kind of flow to our knitting podcast? So, you know, people share things that they finished, things that they're working on, if new things have come into their homes, like yarn purchases and things like that. Which is fine. That's kind of how I was doing things before. But I've also had this idea of maybe putting together like project specific episodes. And I think I would go, like, if it's a sweater project, I think I would take you through like choosing the yarn, looking at the pattern, swatching, calculating gauge, choosing, like all that stuff that I do when I knit a sweater. And then periodically film updates about like how the knit is going, modifications that I'm making, things like that. And then of course showing you the garment in the end. Would that interest anybody? I think those types of episodes wouldn't. It depends on how I go about uploading that stuff. I think I would want like a continuous episode where it takes you through like the beginning, the beginning, swatch, gauge, blah 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 blah, the knit, the finish, and then like photos kind of thing. Only because I enjoy watching things with like a continuity aspect to them, starting something at the beginning and ending with like the culmination of that thing. Feels really good to me. It just sits really well. I really like it. And then maybe I could also upload like the traditional kind of knitting podcast videos intermittently with other stuff I'm working on, and I don't know. If you guys have an opinion or have any ideas of kind of how you would like things to proceed in future, let me know down below. Right? That's what people do. Comments below. Too about this sweater. So this is the Autumn Gold pullover. It is by Vera Valimaki. I use Sweet Skein of Mine yarns. I held 2 strands together. One is a single ply superwash merino in her mulled wine colorway, which is like on this base it's a very pale pinky mauve color, which I really really like. And I held it with 1 strand of her slub base, which has become a pretty popular yarn option that a lot of indie dyers are offering lately. I really really like it. It takes a little bit of getting used to knit with because all of these like little nubbies are slightly loose. It's easy to kind of get your needle tip like not snagged in there but kind of snagged in there in a way, but they're nice. I don't find them like, I don't feel them when I'm wearing it necessarily, so it doesn't feel like a irritating textured sweater, which is nice. I did make tons of modifications to this sweater. The first one is I omitted the detail that's supposed to be like starting from the armpit and like increasing down the side of the sweater. It's like a rib triangle. I omitted it because I kind of wanted to let the yarn shine, and I think it might have gotten lost a little bit, just due to my yarn choice. Nothing wrong with the yarn, it's just there's already so much going on texture wise. I don't think it really needed any more. Basic details: top down sweater, circular construction, tubular cast on, and bind offs for the sleeves. Hem is just a normal, how did I do for that? I think I bound off in like knit 1 purl 1 ribbing, because that's what it is at the bottom. I did size down for my ribbing on the sleeves because I wanted them to pull in slightly, but I continued with the rib on the bottom, same needle as the body. I just kind of wanted a straight body. I didn't want it to like cinch in around my waist. Those are the very basic details. In regards to modifications, the list is fairly short, but the method was a little long, I guess. So my nose is running. It's because it's cold. I'm not ready for winter. It already feels freezing. Not happy about it, but whatever. Modifications for the sweater is I modified stitch counts by adding stitches when it came to just before, what's that word? Oh, so just before dividing for the sleeves and the body, I manipulated the stitch count so that I wasn't doing like an increase row all the way around the circumference, but I added whatever I figured it out to be stitches for just the shoulder circumference, and then I added only a few to the front and the back. Why? Because you can customize the fit of your sweaters when you hand knit them yourself. And the main reason is I don't like when sleeve fabric on sweaters, when like the columns of knit stitches like pull away from each other. I really don't like that. And I also find when I wear sweaters that have that, my elbows get really sensitive to that texture, I think. So they're much happier when it's like a cohesive fabric that's created and worn. Yeah, so that's the main thing I did. And there was like a lot of calculations for that just because it's the kind of knitter I am. If you have tuned into previous episodes years past, I think I've talked about gauge and the importance of it and the fact that I kind of love calculating it, figuring it out, doing the sweater math. So doing something like this where you're modifying the stitch counts in order to get the fit that you want, absolutely love it. It is something that really makes me happy when I knit. So I definitely do it. Probably lately with like most of the things I've been knitting. I think over the years I've knit a crap ton of sweaters. I've learned a ton of stuff from each one, and I've definitely got more confident with how I choose to pair patterns and yarn. And gauge, I think, is something that I can even kind of say I do consider it. When I do a gauge swatch and then calculate, you know, am I close to what the pattern calls for? If I'm off, how is that going to affect the fabric? How is that going to affect the wear, the durability, the drape of the garment? It's all stuff that I think is actually really worth getting comfortable with if you're going to make a lot of garments for yourself. I guess for others too. Just because if you're going to spend all the time it takes to make something, a little bit of work in the beginning has like huge reward in the end. All for that. Yeah, so that's the sweater. I feel breathy. I feel completely weird and awkward to be in front of the camera again. But hopefully with time, it just feels more familiar and I don't keep like stumbling over my tongue. Maybe. I haven't really thought about what exactly I'm going to show because since I recorded last time, there's been many things. I do want to show my first Vertices Unite. So this is a pattern by Stephen West, and I knit it out of Knit Craft and Knittery. Oh, what is this? I think it's her Corriedale, her fingering Corriedale base. So it's a non-superwash yarn. It's amazing if you have an opportunity to catch an update with it. If she's, I believe she still carries it. But anyway, amazing. So this version, which I knit back in like the beginning of the pandemic, I chose to use these 3 colors because I fell in love with them on her website and couldn't choose. I couldn't find another project that I wanted to do where like I didn't have to stripe the whole sweater. I didn't really want to do color work. And I really, really just love these yarns. So there is, let's see, this color here, this dark brown color is Black Coffee. The pink color, pinky mauve, is Hazelnut Gelato. And then this like purpley gray is the Wombat. And I love this thing. I knit it slightly larger than the largest size in the pattern. I've worn it a few times since finishing it. It's huge, it's big, it's very comfy, it's very cozy. The Cordale base, like, it is soft, it is smooshy, but I feel like you can tell it's a non-superwash, which some people might, like, you can feel it a little bit, but I really, 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 really love it. It matches my pink fall coat really nicely. But it's great. It's absolutely wonderful. And I just cast off a second one. So a second Vertices Unite because I needed a straightforward knit. I'm waiting on yarn to do a test knit, and I was crushing on these colors so hard, and then I bought them. And I knew they just had to be a project altogether. So the yarn is Full Moon Fibers. It's their MCN fingering base, which is something Orbit MCN, something like that. But I absolutely love it. So there is this color, which is Starfish. I'm obsessed with it. I really, really like it. This is Sterling, the gray. The black that's in a few different spots is New Moon. The mint is Encouragement. And then there's this color, which is kind of, it is variegated just slightly, but there's like beige and like a light green that just play really, really nicely in there together. And it was a one-of-a-kind colorway of theirs. So I saw these yarns on their website kind of all grouped together, and I just fell in love with the combination and decided that they needed to be in a project all together. It is huge. So I followed the large size instructions in theory, but this is bigger than my first one. Again. And what I did was I increased by an additional 10 stitches in this first section, which makes the whole thing that much bigger. I ran out of the mint color at the end, which is the final section, so I added some of this color. I was a little bummed to run out of the mint, but at the same time kind of made me happy that I was using like as much of the yarn as possible. The orange color was only used once because I really wanted it to just kind of be that big pop. But for this section I used like almost the whole skein. I think I ended up with 12 grams left over, and I believe it was like 120 grams to start with. That's a lot of yards, but it makes me happy. I really, really like it. I haven't woven in the ends yet because I literally bound this off last night. Well, yesterday. It was not late. But I like it. It's that much bigger. I haven't blocked it yet, obviously. but I will, and I think it's just going to be amazing. Definitely kind of that blanket territory. So, yay. What else can I show you guys? I have a fun hat that I finished. I don't know if I've ever shown this pattern off before on previous episodes, but this is the Mawson hat pattern from Brooklyn Tweed. Believe Jared Flood designed it. It is a 1x1 freaking hat pattern. It's not anything too crazy, but the decreases in the top, in the crown, are what make this pattern. I really like them. I really like the way it fits. This is the longest version of the hat I knit. I've knit like 5 of them, I think. I love them. I used, so you can kind of see there's like a speckly yarn in there. It's from Lily & Pine. It's her worsted base in the surprise colorway, which I'm obsessed with. And then I held it double with a strand of like Surrey, what is that? Surrey alpaca, something like that. So I could wear it like totally hipster style, which isn't how I tend to wear it. Usually tuck it in or something. Or I can also fold it up. And have it be like super warm around my ears when I wear it. I can't even fold it further. Yay! So it's super cozy, super fun. High-ish visibility if I'm walking around at night and it's cold because it's like kind of bright yellow. This is what I was thinking when I wanted to use these 2 yarns together. I just ordered more of so I just actually ordered more yarn from Lily & Pine. That's Erin, because I really enjoyed knitting this. So I ordered more of the surprise colorway on the worsted again, and the yellow on the worsted as well, to make a few pairs of mittens for myself, I think. Because I really enjoy them, and I thought maybe having a matching set would be kind of fun. But yeah, lovely little hat. It looks ridiculous, like holding it up. Like, that's insane. It's like taller than my whole face. Whatever, it's comfy, I like it. It stays on. It's going to be super warm for the winter here, which Ottawa tends to get really cold. So after living in the Vancouver area for like 7 years, I'm a little terrified about how cold it's going to be this winter, but it'll be fine. I have all the hand knits. I will be warm. I finished a blanket when we first arrived here. I cast it on in the pandemic as well. It is that, what's it called? The Habitation blanket by Helen Stewart. I used a bunch of stash yarn that was quite old that I had originally purchased for like mittens and color work and stuff. But it's a nice like couch lappy blanket. Took me a while to plan out the colors, but they're mimicked-ish, and they kind of mirror with a few changes. After the middle part, super easy pattern. You could essentially knit this with however much yarn you want, and I think it would be great in anything. Like, I think it was originally written up to be like an advent calendar, pattern that you kind of knit along with, but I'm not an advent calendar purchaser because I don't like surprises. They're not my thing. I don't like not knowing what I have or what's coming. It's not something that sits well with me. I'm going to change my sweater, and then I'm going to show you another one that I finished because I love it too. So this is my, is it the Weights pattern? Yeah, I believe it is. It's the Weights pattern by Bristol Ivy, and it is knit out of one of my all-time favorite yarns that I've used in like the last few years. So this is, or was, a Baby Grand DK skein from Skein Cocaine, who is Gina, who's amazing. And this is the London Fog colorway, and it's just so good. I used up the whole ginormous skein, which I think was like over 1,400 yards or something in like one ginormous cake. It's wonderful. The way the colors kind of played out, I just knit. I just didn't even worry about how it was coming out or anything, and I'm really happy with how it did come out. So you can see there's a little bit of like it's almost like pseudo striping on the arms there. Maybe that's focused. I don't know. Pseudo striping, kind of. Like, it's just happens. Like, I don't even know how it happened because I split the remaining cake into two after I finished the body, and somehow, like, it's done. Well, I guess this is the same part. I don't know. It's just amazing. It's so lovely. I'll show you the back. Get up on this couch, I guess. So it is similar to like a mitered square. At the back, there's a triangle of stockinette and garter down the sides. This pattern was quite a different construction that I've ever knit before. Fix myself up there. So you start up here with like the collar. Oh no, that's a lie. You knit the whole collar first, actually. So you cast on this whole, it's so hard to show, this whole length here along the top. And you knit your collar. And then you start knitting your raglan increases for the sleeves, for the fronts. Your fronts stay in garter stitch, and then eventually you start after the armpits having these decreases come in that continues the back panel of stockinette into that triangle at the back. It's a brilliant construction. It's really neat because like at the end you're basically filling in the back. Like you end up knitting and filling it in, kind of that. It's the weirdest construction as you're knitting. You're kind of like, what the hell? It's lovely. I didn't modify too much for this. In the pattern it states if you want to add a little bit of length to do it after you separate the sleeve stitches, I believe. I haven't blocked it yet just because I haven't had the motivation too, I guess. But I think what's gonna happen when I block it is it's just gonna lengthen the whole thing a tiny bit. I technically would have liked the arms to be longer, but where they are, like, they're fine. They sit there-ish. They should get a little bit longer when I wash them, but not terribly so. We'll see what happens. I don't know. I'm really happy with it. I wanted to knit this pattern for the longest time, and I finally have, and I'm very, very happy that I have it done. Not super sure what else to talk about today. I don't have anything really super on the needles because I just cast off that shawl last night. So mittens are in the future. I've been knitting some up for family for Christmas. Not that we know what Christmas is going to look like, but those have been happening. But I need a pair for myself, and I'm super excited to get that yarn in the mail so that I can have those as soon as possible because it's getting cold. Definitely cold. My hands don't like the cold to begin with anyway, so mittens are definitely essential for me in colder temperatures. I'm debating knitting some DK weight socks. I haven't knit socks in probably 2 years. I just haven't really felt into it or whatever, so that might happen. They'd also be a pretty quick project, so it's also fairly enticing. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm gonna wrap this up and see if I have an okay-ish episode to throw together and put up. Hopefully I record again soon, and we'll see you later. I don't know how to end this. Bye.